Richard Rodgers with a walk-off touchdown. Total disbelief at Ford Field.
He may go all the way to the 20 down the right side, and there's Randall Cobb to the 5, to the end zone, to the touchdown. Oh my goodness.
Welcome, everyone, to the Green and Golden Boys Packers podcast, a podcast for Packer fans living inside enemy territory. I am your co-host, Charles, and with me, as always, is Marcus. Marcus, how are you?
Doing well, Charles. Happy Friday. How are you?
I'm doing great. Well, I guess I'm living inside enemy territory, but you're kind of not living inside enemy territory right now?
I am. I'm about as close to home territory as you can be.
Yeah, what are you, like 6 blocks away?
I'm in Green Bay right now. Yeah, just about 5-6 blocks away from Lambeau Field currently. Yep.
There you go. Awesome. Well, I don't know how you if you're not enjoying this game coming up, right? Big border battle between where we live, Minnesota, the Vikings, and then our favorite team, the Green Bay Packers. January football now. Basically, we've been in the playoffs for the last 3 weeks. If you're not excited right now, then frankly, you just don't like football. Marcus, I'm freaking excited, man.
I am too. I had a hockey coach back in the day who used to say, if you can't get excited for this game, then you don't have a pulse.
Exactly. I mean, like I said, the season's on the line for the Packers at least. Not so much the season on the line for the Vikings, but they are still playing for something. With basically, hopefully in their eyes catching the Eagles, they would have to drop 2 games to be the number 1 seed, but then maintaining that 2 seed. I don't know if they can drop down to the 3. I haven't looked at that closely, but they're not resting all their starters necessarily against this game, and they would love to to finish their rival Green Bay Packers season. And I want to start with have you heard Jair Alexander's comments yesterday? I think it was yesterday, about Justin Jefferson's performance last week being a fluke.
No, can you enlighten me?
I didn't mean to say last week. Jair Alexander was asked about how they're going to change things up with Justin Jefferson this time around because they got torched last time they played.
The last time we played them.
Yep, okay. Exactly. Sorry. And Jair basically kind of talked around it for a little bit, but then ultimately said it was a fluke of a performance. And I think what he was trying to say is that it was Kevin O'Connell's first game as the Vikings head coach. He had months to kind of plan for that game and scheme a guy like Justin Jefferson open. We obviously didn't have tape on the Vikings at that time, so I think that's what Jair was saying, that it was a fluke. But clearly, Justin Jefferson's performance in week 1 has basically carried the Vikings through all 16, 17 weeks so far. And I don't know. Justin's basically put up ridiculous numbers each and every week, so I don't know if I would call it a fluke per se. But how do you feel about our star corner, Jair, kind of poking the bear a little bit a couple days before the big matchup?
Well, first of all, was it Justin's performance specifically he was talking about, or was it the defense's performance that was the fluke?
He was talking about Justin's performance.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not a fluke. The guy has almost 2,000 receiving yards. I mean, he's on pace to be possibly the best Vikings wide receiver that we've ever seen. So, not a fluke. Not a fluke. The performance, maybe by our defense, maybe a little fluky. I think we've been a little bit better in the past game since then, but we've been so bad in the run game that's been the focus of opposing offenses. So, again, not sure that's a fluke either. I mean, I like the rivalry. I like when guys talk and kind of go at each other a little bit. But,
yeah.
To say something like that is just, and I don't know. Jair Alexander this year I feel like he's kind of rubbing me the wrong way. He's been solid, but he hasn't been played nearly up to that contract.
Career high interceptions.
And I mean, you want to say something like, hey, we're going to shut him down. Like he's not going to have a repeat performance. Like, go ahead, but don't call that performance a fluke.
Yeah.
Because we've seen for 3 straight years that there's nothing fluky about this guy.
He did say that we're not going to stop Justin. We're just going to have to do our best to limit him. So he did kind of come out of that a little bit. But I like the attitude. I like the swagger because, frankly, the team at times had been lacking a little bit. I just don't want to get these Vikings and Justin any more added fuel, any added ammunition, if you will, to come at the Packers. But
I'm with you. I mean, I think they have a lot to play for in this game. Aside from it being a divisional game at Lambeau, the Vikings, I mean, coming here. But they're playing for positioning. But this is a game you're always going to get revved up for, I think, on both sides. So I don't think either team needs any extra ammunition. But we've heard the stories about Michael Jordan. We've heard these stories about Aaron Rodgers when he was younger in his career. That you find one thing to focus on, let that eat at you, and then let that kind of dictate an incredible performance. Yeah. Sometimes you got to add your own fuel to the fire. And I think to your point, a guy like Justin Jefferson probably doesn't need anything extra to help him perform.
Well, the guy throwing him the ball, Kirk Cousins, I wouldn't say is a Hall of Famer by any means quite yet, but he is throwing the ball to a wide receiver that if wide receivers won MVP awards, I mean, honestly, Justin could be in the conversation if they win their next two games. You could see that being a part of the conversation. But that being said, Justin is going to get his, but Kirk Cousins does. You kind of can count on him to do something not so great every week. Whether it's throwing a pick, putting the ball on the ground with a fumble. Have you? I mean, we've been watching Kurt and the Vikings for a while. I mean, does Kurt scare you yet? I mean, take Justin out of the equation. If he's just throwing to guys like T.J. Hawkinson and Adam Thielen, and who's their other wideout? Whoever that is. I mean, does Kurt scare you on primetime TV in Lambeau?
I think primetime Kirk Cousins doesn't really scare me. I mean, he's a great player. I don't think we can. I feel like he's gotten a bad rap for whatever reason. Like
because he doesn't win big games.
I feel like mostly by Vikings fans, he hasn't been able to win big games. But they haven't really been in a ton of big games since he's been here. I think this would kind of be the pinnacle for him if they come in at a number 2 seed or something like that. Then they're going to have to kind of make a run at this thing, and we'll see what happens with him in those types of situations. But I mean, he's a really efficient passer. He's got a good arm. He kind of sort of a death by 1,000 cuts type of offense. I mean, they've got a really good running game. We've gotten kind of gashed by Dalvin Cook many times in the past.
Don't remind me.
And then let's not forget that T.J. Hawkinson was a highly, highly, highly touted draft pick when the Lions took him, and he's been solid. He's been pretty good. And Adam Thielen, has been to a Pro Bowl or two. So these aren't guys that are, they're not. No offense to anybody on our team, but they're not an Amari Rodgers or a Samori Toure.
Okay,
or a Sammy Watkins.
So you just nailed it. You just nailed it right there. I think I already predicted. You guys already heard my prediction before the Dolphins game. If we win against the Dolphins, I think the Packers are going to win out. I still believe that. That being said, their offensive players versus our offensive players, minus the quarterback, and even maybe not even minus the quarterback at times. I mean, they're a better team. I think they're a better offensive team than the Packers. Doesn't mean I think they're going to win this week, but you nailed it. Dalvin Cook, a Pro Bowl running back, T.J. Hawkinson. He was struggling with the Lions. The Lions traded him to the Vikings for basically nothing before the Lions realized they were kind of good this year. Adam Thielen, he's like, I don't know, a slightly better version of Cobb right now, at least right now this year. I don't know why that third receiver is escaping me right now. Starts with an O.
KJ Osborne?
Osborne, thank you. Yeah, Osborne, I mean, he's a threat. I mean, he's quiet at times, and he's quiet down a little bit since T.J. Hawkinson's come around, but he's a red zone threat. I mean, this is a team. I mean, their offensive line is better than it's been historically. Mm-hmm. This is a team that if we play in a dome, I don't like our chances. If they play a Packers week 1 where we're not necessarily playing to stay alive, I don't like our chances. If we don't have our MVP quarterback, I don't like our chances. But there's a very scary lineup coming into Green Bay, and they're 11-0 in one-score games. So not only are they very talented, but the ball is bouncing their way. A lot of people said that about the Packers in 2019 when we were 13-3. Like, oh, you guys are lucky. Look at all those close games you won. good teams make their own luck, man, and they're a good team, specifically on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and they're not bad in some respects on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, yardage wise, they've been giving up a lot of yards, so I think that's where we have to take advantage.
32nd in the league.
We talked a little bit about it last episode, but protecting Aaron Rodgers is going to be the big key because they've got two really good pass rushers and ex-Packers, Adarius Smith and Danielle Hunter, and both of those guys have combined over 20 sacks this year. So again, protection, run the football, get rid of the football, Aaron Rodgers, if you're listening, which you're not.
Yeah.
But,
do you think he listens?
Okay,
sorry.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. No, I mean, we are, I don't know, we couldn't be further down the totem pole for people he cares about. But anyway. But yeah, I mean, I don't understand what's been the issue the last couple of weeks, maybe the last 5-6 weeks, where Rodgers just holds onto the ball, especially in those situations where in the red zone it knocks you out of field goal range. You know what I mean? And we can't have that. He's got to get rid of the football. But again, it's going to start with the protection up front because I think that's where this defense for the Vikings can get to us. So
Josh Nijman, by the way, did participate yesterday in practice, so that's a good sign for the offensive line.
Yep.
We both picked him as one of the three guys that we need to come back between Christian, Keyshawn Nixon, and Yash. He's the only one who.
And it looks like.
Yep.
I was gonna say, sorry. It also looks like David Bakhtiari and Elton Jenkins both were limited yesterday, Thursday, but not ruled out as of now. But we'll see.
I don't know if I feel good about Christian Watson though. Hip and still not practicing. We're recording this at 1:00 on a Friday, so I don't think the Friday report has come out yet. That's a big blow because, like you said, this defense is good at times, but they are vulnerable. They give up a lot of yards, and if we can get the ball, like you just said, I'm going to repeat everything you just said. If we get the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands quickly, we can do some damage in that secondary because they're ho-hum at best.
All right. Well, it's time to pick your player on offense or defense. Who are you going to go with?
Man, I think I can't pick Yash because I picked him last week and he might not play, and I can't pick Christian because he's not necessarily guaranteed to play. So I think Romeo Doubs. I don't know if we've picked him in a while. I'm sure we did early on in the season, but Romeo's got to step up if Christian isn't there, and Romeo has to have some key third down catches and take advantage of the few passes that he does get if Christian is playing. I pray that Christian plays, but Romeo Doubs have a big step up. I would like to see a couple touchdowns out of. I'd see a couple touchdowns out of anyone, but Romeo, I think in the air is how we attack this team, and which, by the way, is the opposite of what we said all 15, 16 weeks before this, right? We've kind of said run the ball. That still holds true, but I think against this secondary in particular, they're going to be vulnerable throwing the ball. So again, Romeo Doubs. How about you?
Well, I'm going to go. I'm going to go offense as well, but I'm going to go with Royce Newman because I've got to assume that even if Josh Nijman plays in this game, he may not be 100%. He may be limited in his snaps. So Royce is probably going to come in for a couple in relief, and he hasn't been great. And I think if we want to protect Rodgers, and that's kind of my key to the game, is he's got to win some one-on-ones, and he hasn't really been able to do that much. And I think if he can, then we've got a really good shot.
Yeah. I am going to pick a defensive player, even though you told me to pick one. Jair's got to back up what he threw out there, right? I can't imagine they're going to play too much zone. I think they're going to put Jair on Justin, and on those plays, let's shut him down. And Jair, let's see. I would love to hear all the cocky interviews afterwards. I would love it after a win. So I'm going to pick Jair as well. All right. Well, I know who I'm picking to win, but I don't know who you're picking to win. Do you have faith that the Packers are going to pull this one out? And do you think it's just something special in the air like I do, or do you think the Packers are just straight up better team and they're going to win at home?
You know what? I think on paper the Vikings are definitely a better team, and they've performed like it thus far this season. But you got to believe, man. I'm a fan first, podcast host, objective third party second. So I'm going to go with the Packers. I think, back against the wall, we have to win. Otherwise, we don't make the playoffs. Vikings don't need this game necessarily, but they still got stuff to play for. But I think it's going to be a little bit higher scoring. I don't think the weather's going to be much of a factor.
It's going to be beautiful out.
Yeah, 40 degrees or something, something like that. And I think the Packers. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think this is going to be a one-score game that the Packers win and the Vikings, maybe lose their first one this season. So I'm going 31-27 Packers.
Ooh, that's a very high-scoring game. That, by the way, blows past the 48-point over/under. And the Packers, by the way, are favored in this game by 3.5, depending on where you look. Does that surprise you? Because we're fans, so we're picking the Packers, but why is everyone else picking the Packers? I think.
Well, doesn't the home team that usually get like 3 points or something, or 3.5 anyway? So
yeah,
I think that means the odds makers are looking at this like a pretty even game, on paper.
I think they're looking at it as a pretty even game on paper because the Vikings have been in coin flips of games. Again, better teams make their own luck, so I'm not knocking them for winning 11-0, one possession games, but they're all one possession games, and if the Packers can keep themselves in it, it's really a coin flip at the end of the game, and I think you're right. It's going to be a one possession game. I think it's going to be in the 20s, though. I think we're going to be Vikings 24, Packers 28, meaning they're going to cover, they're going to win, and when we beat the Vikings, we're going to go on next week and beat the Lions. Before we get too excited, though, at just winning out, we are big Browns fans, I think. Is that right? Browns are playing Washington?
I think you're right. Yeah, yep. I think we definitely want to root for the Browns this week.
Yeah, because the Washington Commanders might be playing either the Dallas or Eagles, who might be resting players at that point. So this is our best chance at the Browns losing. So, Marcus, what are you doing for the game?
I don't know. I don't have any plans for the game. I'm going to be driving back from Green Bay to Minneapolis tomorrow, Saturday, and then I will be watching the game at home, probably.
There you go. I was thinking about setting up the TV outside because it's going to be, 35 degrees here, and just kind of feel like I'm in Lambeau in the backyard. Do a little grilling and maybe have a beer or two.
Okay, sounds good. Are you going to be in Minneapolis?
I will be in Minneapolis. I will be home. I am celebrating Christmas and New Year's kind of all on the same day, so it'll be fun. Guys, big game, biggest game this season. Until next week, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Green and Golden Boys of Packers podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and rate us on your favorite podcast service. And as always, Marcus, go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go.